Good night again. Of course, it's evident that Homo sapiens still have what to say. The mouth is still wide open, the tongue is still moving. These creatures will continue the conversation until the last one is alive. I mean, while there is still one person alive. I mean, so while I am working on the construction, even trivial stuff, I mean, like demonstrably proving in an unconscionable way that the entire physics is wrong. This was done many times in this channel, but maybe this one will be even more impressive, I think. I hope. But even doing such trivial things requires some thought and some processes, preparations. Don't worry, you will soon understand everything. It's not that complicated. But while the clay is, some of the construction is actually made of clay. So while it's kind of a little bit drying, I mean, I'll use the opportunity to be very blunt, to say things very, very, simply, with regards to the previous video of the Micro Colosseum. And also me and the war, but mostly in the Micro Colosseum. I wanted to be very clear, so you will understand my intentions. Of course, for the Neros to do things, intentions are not required, but for me to do things, intentions are required. The intelligence services of Israel are mostly made of two kinds of people. And this is something that I understood 4.5 years ago. It was one of the, I almost, at the beginning of this discovery journey, I understood it. But the implications and what's actually happening, of course, is a huge issue that is discussed in this channel and previous outlets where I spoke and written. But it wasn't very difficult to understand that there are the Homo sapiens as male pigs that are mostly pedophiles and homosexuals, and that are many of those in Israel because of reasons that took me, initially I thought that they are just being sent from abroad, which is true, but it's more complicated than that. It's not the time to elaborate on that. What actually happened, this is a long process that is going on for more than 100 years. Just people don't speak about it because it's like so, so secretive and so explosive for so many reasons, but it's a complicated historical process. First, the Jews sent the scum to Israel, to Palestine, because to Ottoman Palestine, this was like the Wild West, a shithole. And I've said it many times, the fact that they did it was a major factor for the occurrence of the Holocaust of the Jewish people of Europe. Of course, there were messengers like myself during the first half of the 20th century that said they said exactly what I say all the time. We do not clean the trash can. We clean the planet, and above all the people that send the trash to the trash can. The same thing that I say for so long, I assure you during the 20s and the 30s, there was a person like myself that said the same things. He said, we do not clean the trash can. They committed the most horrible crimes, these people. They committed crimes that were even worse than what is going on right now. But the stand of the cherubs was, we do not clean the trash can. We clean the globe, and we most certainly retaliate against the people that created the trash can. A person not dissimilar to myself during the 1920s, 1930s spoke those lines to whoever wanted to listen. Not many listened. The consequences was the destruction of the Jewish community, the Jewish communities in Europe. Between 5 to 6 million Jews died. But of course, it's not only them. As you know, between 50 and 70 million additional people died in World War II. Just to say, most of the things that I say are echoes of things that were already said, have been said by predecessors of mine that I know almost nothing about. I mostly speak in this channel about the person that I call my predecessor. He was a messenger that acted during the 70s, during the 1980s. I speak about him a lot. But I understood at some point that I had other predecessors, but I know very little about them. Very, very little. And of course, other cherubs acted in Earth since antiquity. But this is a completely different issue. And excuse me for postponing the Akhenaton video. It's not that I don't have what to say, just, I mean, kind of like, I mean, sometimes, I mean, I feel that, I mean, it's just a question of mood. Like sometimes I feel like, I mean, it's not the time to speak about things that are too intellectual. Even though sometimes I do it because, I mean, mostly for, I would say, in the broad sense, entertainment, because I am locked in the cell and lonely. So these kind of things are, like with science, it's kind of like entertainment for me in the broad sense. But other times I feel the gravity of the situation does not, I mean, doesn't give me like the incentive to speak about Akhenaton, even though I have what to say and it's interesting. And I mean, I've read Moses and Monotheism when I was a teenager, and so I know it's not an story. It's kind of, it's not regarded like as in any way as a authoritative book today, but it's a very popular book in the history of humanity that deals with the issue of Akhenaton. So I was aware of the issue at least 25 years ago. It's not a new thing to me, and I have what to say on the matter. But not, I have now I mean, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. And same is true regarding cosmology and regarding solid state physics that are all part of this kind of like intellectual series. The TLDR of the Akhenaton story, but this is not in, I mean, instead of like the second part of the video that I will conduct at some later date. But I mean, like just in one or two sentences, I would say that the Egyptians used the gates. This was clear to me very quickly for all sorts of reasons. And I know all sorts of things, but they are, I have some knowledge of things that happened during, I mean, the Old Kingdom and the New Kingdom. Mostly I would say they either didn't care much at all, I mean, and nothing, like, I mean, it was kind of like, I mean, a bizarre vacation place. Or, alternatively, they committed horrible crimes and they were punished for that. And the main problem with the consensual history of Akhenaton is the notion that it was within his power to demolish to demolish the importance of Ra, or Amun-Ra as it was called probably at the time, from the kingdom, like single-handedly. It was impossible to do so. I mean, the image of him as a absolute dictator, such absolute dictator never existed in the history of humanity. Absolute dictators or absolute monarchs like, you know, Louis XV presumably, even though such people never existed. It's impossible. I mean, no person can have this power. It never had this power in the history of humanity. Ra was, historically the most important god, and Amun-Ra, it's just, a different name in Egypt. He couldn't have done this. What's attributed to him? Maybe he wanted it, to do it, but he couldn't have done it because it's impossible to do it. No one ruler, can do such things. And I would say that in the general sense, that's why mostly the cherubs, they don't care much about your leaders. Leaders and kings are, good. They are, good material for TV shows and biopics and Melech HaArayot, like Lion King movies. That I watched Lion King like when I was 10 years old at the cinema, and I liked it. But that's not history. Lion King is not history. History is more complicated, always more complicated. The people are the ones that are making history, not the leaders, not the rulers. Even though sometimes there are leaders that are extremely successful, and I mentioned Pakal a couple of days ago. He was exceptionally successful and a great king, like historically a great king. But so there were very successful rulers and kings in the history of humanity. But in general, they alone, they cannot do anything at all. It's always the nation, the people. And this is the major issue with the kind of standard historical account of what happened during this time. They thought that he could have just decide, we just wake up someday and say and think, you know what, I don't like this guy Ra or Amun-Ra. No, this guy, I don't like him. Let's, destroy the temples, kill the priests, delete his name. We don't do the Ra thing anymore. After at least 1,000 years that he was so important, at least 1,000 years, if not more, that he was so of such an importance. And I will speak about the importance of Ra as part of the Akhenaton video, the complete one. This is not instead, again, this video is not instead of the one that I promised. Just, this is the major issue. He couldn't replace Ra with this Aten, whatever it is. And we will speak about what it is in this video. I just say, this is the major problem. What most probably happened is that they destroyed themselves. These priests. And the priesthood was an incredibly important class in ancient Egypt. Religion in general was extremely important to them, to all the people of all status of society. They took it very seriously. It wasn't like, like the Romans, for example, didn't take their gods too seriously. To some extent they did, but, for them, religion was nice, but they mostly, famously took it, just borrowed everything from the Greeks. They just, they thought, that's like a nice religion, and so let's make it our own, just change the names. And some stories were, yes, added to the already existing canon that, and yes, there was the very important edition during the time of Augustus of the Aeneid, but mostly it wasn't like that in Egypt. Just to say, they took their gods very seriously, like the most devoted Christian, or Muslims today, or in any other time. Revere their God, and the priesthood was extremely important, and they destroyed themselves. They destroyed themselves. So it was a huge purge that was not resulted in Shirvat Srefa, they say, like destruction layer, because it was widespread and not necessarily, it wasn't like, I mean, necessarily manifested in the destruction of towns or cities, or, I mean, things that are the content of what we call the tales. But they destroyed themselves. How they did it? So I'll speak about it later, but in a way that is actually not dissimilar to the way that the Israelis are destroying themselves now and in the past. Not that dissimilar. Now regarding the Titans, what I want to happen, my intention is that they will suffer what they did to me. Just a little bit of it, which is, I mean, what can be more justified than that? But it will not be the punishment of humanity. No, not at all. This is just, I mean, an introduction or the prelude. All of humanity will be punished. All the blue planets. That's why the ships are here. The ships are here. And again, I see it by the naked eye. I mean, it's just, I mean, I just look up and I see it. It's not a vision, it's not a dream. These are objects that use lights that probably, I don't know why only I see it, or maybe other people see it but I don't think about it, or maybe I don't know what's going on. But most certainly you can detect these ships, I mean, using apparatus, not only the naked eye. And they are here, and they didn't come before, I mean, not during the time of Akhenaton and not during the 1980s. Not like that. This is something else. And this something is the destruction of the earth, destruction of humanity. Because we had enough of you, all of you, all of you. But first, the Titans should suffer what they've done to me, at least a little bit of it. Which means that everybody will be able to take their teeth from them without them, like, even the only way to prevent that would be for them, and in that they will still have much more knowledge than I do, so their situation will be much easier than mine, actually. Just, I mean, to hide. I didn't even know what's going on, and I can't hide. They are in much better position than I am to protect themselves. Now, the ways to acquire tea in Earth, this was discussed a lot in the channel. I'm not going to repeat myself, and it was changed during the 20th and 21st century. I will just say that, in general, there are two ways. First, cannibalism in Earth, which means to take it from other people, mostly from indirectly or directly from me, because I am source for it, because it's multiplies in my body, also out of my body, and this is the major scientific topic of this channel. But it's all, I mean, it multiplies in my body. And the other way is also cannibalism, but cannibalism that relates to the planet Venus. And it doesn't matter, I mean, there are also for cannibalism. Again, in the Ottoman times, they just, I mean, put the babies on the stakes, like on the manga, like on the bonfire. And today they also do it, but in other ways, sometimes indirect ways. It doesn't matter if you just go there and kill someone, or if you take their food from them. They don't have much food. So, I mean, indirectly, it's also cannibalism. Or you just convince them to go to Earth, and when they come to Earth, they suffer cruel fate, and I know exactly what fate they suffer because I look like them. So people, I mean, treat me the same. So I know, I mean, but of course, I have tremendously more knowledge, I mean, you know, intelligence, I mean, you know, education. I was born in Earth. So, I mean, I have ways, I mean, I have, also, and even though everybody wants me, I mean, are against me, this is reality. They are all part of the intelligence services. But even taking that into account, it's still, I'm not like a stranger from another planet that knows nothing about the place, but I do know exactly what's going on. Well, I can imagine what they suffer, because it's not difficult to extrapolate from how people are treating me. So it's cannibalism anyway. But it's getting very difficult to actually acquire the tea, because the gates are not open because I close it. When there are no cherubs, the gates are permanently closed. That's why I'm still alive, otherwise they would have killed me a long time ago. That's why there wasn't always a connection between the Earth and Venus, because there are not always cherubs in Earth. If there is no cherubs in Earth, the gates are closed. And this I know that very well. That's why I'm alive. This is the reason why I'm alive. Otherwise, they would have murdered me a long time ago. Long time ago. So in essence, what will happen is that the Homo sapiens will not have the T, and they already don't have it. I mean, it's already, and the starships are eradicating it, and it's a gradual process. But all the factors combined, and again, I would say, the way of the cherubs and the way of the Neos, actually, the robots themselves, but also the cherubs, is not to do things like, I mean, you know, like on off, like, I mean, to press like the ESD, like emergency shutdown on anything, like the big red button in power plant. No, they do things gradually in a continuous way, process in process. So people will have time to change their ways or to repent in the religious sense. Though I mean, mostly they don't do it because of their vanity. That's why the vanity is the worst sin, because it prevents people from repentance, even if they have. Usually they have time to repent. So yes, it's a gradual process that has several factors combined, but the bottom line is that there is less and less tea in this world. Mostly the tea is produced inside the body of the females, but they cannot produce this without taking my own. That's why they torture me for so long. And the Homo sapiens of Israel, but not only of Israel, but other places as well. And these people are, many times they belong to the intelligence services, so they are very powerful and they have no respect to the law at all. They are getting desperate. So very soon what will happen is a civil war inside the Israeli intelligence. Because when the Homo sapiens is... zombies will know, and they will know very quickly, that they can take these things from the body of the females, the titans, without like, I mean, directly eating it like their pee or something like that. They will do it. They will cannibalize on their bosses without second thought. I'm certain about it. Like, I know the people. They will just kill their bosses. I mean, without much. I mean, they will eat their bosses without much thought. It probably is going to happen. I mean, even tonight. Or tomorrow, I mean, you know, the latest. But I mean, the process will start in a couple of hours. They will cannibalize on their bosses and colleagues without much, without much fuss. Like, I mean, they will do it. The titans are strong, so they have ways to defend themselves, but they have no chance. The zombies will eat them. There will be zombie fodder very soon. This will not happen only in Israel, it will happen in any other intelligence service that is based on homosexuals and pedophiles and titan operators and the consumption of tea as a major tool for intelligence purposes. But not only for that. It's used for fun and for bigger boobs and bigger dicks and torture and all sorts of things. This is discussed in the channel. So let's... and as I said in the past, most probably it has, almost certainly, it's got an amazing, I mean, ability to prolong the life of Homo sapiens. But to my estimation, no one ever actually enjoyed this life, like the spice from Dune. But I mean, and contrary to what you can see in Dune, or read in Dune, the Dune series, I mean, in Earth probably no one actually, I mean, at least in the 21st century, probably no one actually, I mean, enjoyed, and no Homo sapiens ever enjoyed this property, because the cherubs are purging, and from time to time the cherubs are purging all the people that have it in their body. So I mean, I would say it's got the property of prolonging the life. I mean, if you not take into account the fact that there is another alien species that like from time to time just kills everybody that have it in their body. So actually, it's in effect it has a very strong life shortening property because the cherubs are doing these purges. Now, I honestly don't know what countries are like that, like Israel. Certainly, this was standard in the 1980s in the USSR and the United States, but we are not. This is not the 1980s. The world is different now. But it should be said that they also, it's also used now for radioactive isotopes. So it's like another incentive for many countries to use the tea. But this is a complicated matter. I mean, there is the issue of the tea as a source of uranium, the tea as as intelligence tool, and even the existence of the Titans is in a place is greatly related to the nature of the intelligence services and their and to the fact that since the early 20th century at least, they like to populate themselves with homosexuals and pedophiles. And most certainly this is more common in the West than in other places. But I'm not sure. I don't know where they do it and where they don't, and to what extent. Most certainly, it's common in the rainbow countries like West Europe, the white race, the scum of the earth. I said many times, white people sometimes, complain. They say that, they are, accused and of crimes that were committed by their grandparents or their grandparents. So no, this is bullshit. You are accused for crimes that you commit right now, white people, right now. How stupid can you be? Not to understand that, things like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, like the war that you see right now, but historically the conflict with the Palestinians, you need to be complete idiot or a criminal idiot not to understand that these things happen because of the nature of Israel and because of the nature of the Israeli intelligence. It's directly related to the Titan subjugation and to the consumption of the tea. And you need to be completely stupid or criminally stupid or just heartless not to understand that if you populate your intelligence services with homosexuals and pedophiles and you like to have the Titan companions to them, so you take the Titans from Israel or from other places because there are other options, and on top of that you use the tea, all of that directly contributes to the existence of wars and suffering like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is true right now, but it's historical truth, and not only in Israel. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not like the major conflict in Earth. It was never has been. It's actually it's actually kind of small, in the general scale. But most certainly it affected other conflicts as well. But it's not. I don't want to even intend to kind of do an alternative history, like Forrest Gump history of that to show you how everything in the 20th century was related to the tea. It's not. It's not important right now. But certainly, just to watch this war, that's going on right now. You need to be, so cool not to see how this is directly related to what you do in your own countries. And again, I don't know who is doing it more than others. Most certainly, it's more common in the rainbow countries, the countries that boast their support of LGBTQ and diversity, and behind the scenes cannibalize on helpless people in Venus, and cannibalize on me, on my daughters, and torture me without end, and dramatically contribute to wars like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So these people, and I don't know to what extent, surely they exist. Surely, it's somewhat, characterized as the CIA. I don't know to what extent. I don't even know to what extent it was like that in the CIA, the KGB during the 80s. Even though I'm certain that it was very widespread and they punished tremendously so. But I don't know to what extent, and I don't know to what extent it's like it now. My estimation is that today, whoever, like I mean, you know, like I mean, succeeded the KGB. I don't know what's their name. It's probably much less common than the time of the KGB. You don't need to be a genius to understand why, but it's probably still somewhat common in the United States. I don't know to what extent. And also in West Europe, and maybe other countries as well. All of the places that, I mean, that intelligence services, I mean, are like that, which means that they are made of Titan females and homosexuals and pedophiles men, and they use the T for various reasons. A civil war is, like, I mean, is going to happen to them, and probably in a couple of hours it will start. The consequences of the civil war will be the destruction of the cannibalizing, the humans cannibalizing on the Titan females. Many of them actually do not look like females because they change their sex to male, like they are transgenders. But still, I mean, they will cannibalize on them, which is some kind of justice. But as I said, and I said again, this is not the retaliation. This is not the Titanomachy that you see here. No. What you see here is exactly what you see here. You don't see homosexuals and pedophiles dining on the corpses of all sorts of prostitutes in the United States and in Israel. Even though it's going to happen in probably tonight, it will start. But this is not a retaliation. What you see here is exactly what you see here. Starships, huge in size, frying the earth with radiation, because we had enough of you. We had enough of you. Enough of your speech, enough of your messages, enough of your communication, and certainly enough of the torture. The heroes will never forgive humanity for what they've done to me and my daughters. I am their representative, and they are not going to let you crucify me forever like you do, and according to your plans, what, I mean, you try to achieve. Me crucified in a cell, like in a psychiatric asylum forever, while you take my flesh and blood from me, and of course later do the same to my daughters, and you already started to do it to my daughters since they were 2 years old. This is the white man, the white woman. This is the white race. Torture children since they are 2 years old in their beds. The radiation and unbelievable cruelty. And unbelievable cruelty towards their father, an innocent man that's you only taken everything from him, but never gave him nothing in return, and you torture him without end. This is the LGBTQ rainbow values of the white people. But again, retaliation will not be only against white people. It will be against the planet, against humanity. Because other nations should have intervened using arms and legs, not mouths and tongues, and they have not. So, just so you understand what's on the menu for you. First, a civil war, which will probably be held behind the scenes because it will be related to intelligence services. Of course in Israel, but in other places where the intelligence services are like that of Israel, which means Titans and pedophiles and homosexuals and consuming of tea and using the tea for radioactive isotopes. And again, I don't know. I cannot. It's beyond my capabilities to say. I mean, how, to what extent it doesn't need to be in Israel. This is like, I mean, this is Israel. But in other places, it was never like so widespread as is in Israel. Even in the 1980s, it was never like that. I mean, to some extent, it characterizes intelligence services and also politics. Politicians in other places. I do not know to what extent. Most certainly, you can predict that it will be more widespread in the United States and West Europe, and a civil war is in the very, very, I mean, close horizon in these places. But this is just an introduction. The retaliation is frying of the earth. Like you radiate me all my life, and you radiate my daughters, they will radiate you. All of you. All of the Homo sapiens in this world. All of them. if you think it's not fair because you have not committed the crime, then I tell you very simply, you committed tremendous crime. You should have moved arms and legs to rescue me and my daughters from hell. Arms and legs, not mouths and tongues. Arms and legs.